reality, Canada's national parks belong to Canadians.
And through our taxes, park fees, and years of public investments, Canadians help preserve some of the country's most iconic places.
So, should international visitors receive free admission while Canadians have already paid for the system? Well, you may have heard of the new program the federal government has going this year, where you can get a free pass, daily pass into one of our national parks.
Right.
And of course, I was looking at that and I thought, okay. And then I saw something about it's free for everyone. So I went digging to see if that meant tourists coming from anywhere, the US or elsewhere in the world. And apparently, from what I can find out, it is. Now, I have some things to say about that. You know, you have those who say it's an investment in tourism. And those like me will argue, and I'm about to, that Canadians have already contributed maintaining these parks through taxes and public funding. Now, Canadians as well. This is a program to encourage Canadians to also go to our national parks, and that keeps us at home.
Right.
You can travel across the country to any one of a number of national parks, and beautiful, beautiful scenery. And, you know, if you're the type that wants to get up close and touch nature, all kinds of opportunity to do it. But beautiful, beautiful scenery. And you're traveling across the country, and so you're supporting, you know, Canadian B&Bs and Airbnbs and restaurants and everything, and souvenir shops and what have you. But why are we also opening the doors to visitors from other countries free?
Mm-hmm.
What have they contributed? And even when you think about it, I would argue, oh yes, they'll be spending some money here. Yes, they will. But what they spend, when you break it down over X number of years, amounts to really nothing compared to what you and I, Eddie, have spent on national parks through contributions through income tax, provincial, federal income tax, and also, if we're going into a park, paying the admission fees outside of this promotional period.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest that whatever it's costing us, it's going to be interesting to see the figures at the end of this promotion. We probably could have bought ads on digital platforms for a hell of a lot cheaper.
True.
We're just giving it away. Why? Why, I ask? I totally disagree with it.
Gary, I've, before all hell broke loose down south, took a huge trip out to Western United States, and we did an entire loop. And you know what? Every national park that we actually went into, there, of course, was a park ranger at their gate, basically holding their hand out and, $20, please, $10, please, $15, please. So, you know what? It's not out of the ordinary for tourists to actually have to pay to get into some of these national parks. And if I'm not mistaken, Grand Canyon National Park, U.S. citizens don't have to pay to get into it. So why are we not following suit here in Canada? I agree with you, Gary. You and I have been paying taxes. Every paycheck, a small portion of it goes to the upkeep of our national parks. As you know, I love houseboating, and of course, houseboating in Canadian waters requires, in some cases, you to go through locks, which are maintained by Parks Canada. Which again, Gary, you might not be a lover of boating, but your tax money goes into maintaining these locks and the parks associated with it. So you know what? I am behind you, Gary. I think anybody coming to visit our beautiful country, I'm not saying charge them $50. You know, here's a family car, a car coming in with 4 people in it. $20. Not $20 a person, but $20 for the carload. You know what? I really don't think anybody coming to visit our country would have an issue with that. So why are we, not charging fees to non-Canadian residents, non-Canadian citizens? I really think we should, because that money will go into something positive and contribute to the upkeep of our national parks and our national waterways. It stays in Canada. I'm 100% behind you, Gary. I really think that foreigners, non-Canadians, should be paying to visit our national parks. And you know what? It is expensive because our national parks are monstrous. If you take a look at the vast wilderness, I mean, just Banff National Park is just absolutely massive, and other national parks right across the country. Our waterway, the St. Lawrence Seaway, it's massive, and these national parks along the way have to be maintained. So this can go into paying salaries. This can be used to improve some of the parks. This can be used for education about our parks, and all kinds of things. So I am behind you 100%, Bud, on this one. I think you and I should be able to get in free. Of course, ID cards required. But anybody that's not a Canadian citizen or a resident of Canada, a small charge. And with the amount of people visiting from abroad, you know what? It adds up.
Sure it does. Sure it does. Even $30 for a carload is a good price.
Yeah.
I tend to like to push it up a little bit. Anyway, national parks are supported through taxpayer funding along with Parks Canada revenues and user fees. Okay, and there's the kicker right there. User fees over time. Well, if we have a year where we're not getting any user fees, how do they make up the deficit in the budget?
True.
Of Parks Canada? Now I really believe, and I've always said this over the years, that there are so many Canadians who have not traveled to other parts of Canada. When I moved to BC back in 1998, and I was there for 2 years, the number of people, as I started to really meet people and even talk to them during my talk show, the number of people who said, I've always wanted to go to the Maritimes, and one of these days I'll get there, but things get in the way. And it's the same. You could talk to 100 people on the East Coast, and they would say the same thing. Well, I've never been to Alberta, or I've never been to BC, or I've never been to the Rockies, or so there are so many opportunities. If we want to promote unity, national unity in this country, and we want to learn more about other Canadians, what better way than to give some kind of a subsidy on Via Rail, on airline tickets, work a deal with the airlines, even if it's a tax write-off. Now, I know New Brunswick, in the final stages of COVID, when things were starting to relax a bit, New Brunswick came out with a program, I think it was 2 summers in a row. And essentially what it was, if you traveled around New Brunswick and spent your vacation in New Brunswick, traveling around and camping or staying in hotels, what have you, and then you submitted your receipts to the provincial government, they had a special program set up where you would get, I don't remember what the percentage was, but you got a percentage back of what you spent because you stayed in New Brunswick and you spent money in New Brunswick.
That is smart. I
It
love
was a
that.
great program.
Yeah.
The government had to hire people to administer it. So that
Hmm.
meant some more people going to work, but it was a great program because it was highly successful. A lot of people said, yeah, let's let, and there are people in New Brunswick who have never been maybe to northeastern New Brunswick, up around the Bay of Chaleur,
Hmm.
or different areas, and there are some beautiful areas in New Brunswick to see. So if we could do that as a country, and even if it becomes a permanent program where you can write off a certain percentage of the cost of your trip and maybe base it on the distances involved
Yeah.
on your income tax each year, bingo. We have people traveling back and forth across the country by rail or by train or even by car if they want to go by car, or an RV if they have an RV or rent an RV. But they're going back and forth. And while they're doing that, whether you realize it or not, you're building up a sense of community and you're building
Absolutely.
up a sense of unity. Because I went out to BC and very quickly I realized, some of the issues I'm hearing out here, yes, have a BC handle to them, but they're pretty much the same issues I was dealing with back in New Brunswick doing a talk show. We all get up in the morning and put our underwear on. We all do. Well, most of us. But we get dressed.
One leg at a time.
Yeah, exactly. So we're all pretty much the same, but we just don't realize it. And there is so much, they're driving across the prairies and the flat lands, and you look out and you see those long trains that seem to go on forever, going across the prairies with grain cars, and it's amazing going through the Rockies. It's something else to drive through the Rockies. And Lake Louise, I remember going to Lake Louise back in the 70s, and there was a feeling that just washed over me. And then I was there in 1999, I think it was, and again the same thing. Still, as often as I have seen pictures of Lake Louise and movies, it's being used in movies and that, paintings, you still walk up and it's magical. At least it was for me. So, and it's the same going right across the country.
Yeah.
Look at how much the scenery changes in Quebec from the time you went here on the New Brunswick side to you leave in Ontario. Or just driving down through the Okanagan in British Columbia, where all of a sudden, you've got tumbleweed and desert. Like that. We've so many things to offer. Why aren't we doing something like that instead of saying to the world, come on in, it's free?
Good point. I mean, you know what? For those that are still working, tax incentives, and you know what? For those of us that are retired, figure out another model. You know what? I haven't been. My goodness, when was the last time I was out in Vancouver? Vancouver, Alberta, 2003. That was the last time I went out to Western Canada. And you know what? It's changed. I'm sure it's changed. There's so many things that happen. Montreal changes, Toronto changes, every city changes. And from what I'm seeing, for the better. And I'd certainly like to go back and visit that. It's just not economically possible in some cases because of we got a massive country, and the flights with our domestic carriers are not that cheap either. What a wonderful incentive to for the government to say, hey, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Tekalik, why don't the two of you grab your wives, or you know what, leave them at home and head out west or something and do whatever, right?
Oops.
Oops. Did I say that? Oh, sorry.
Oops. We're done
No,
now,
but the
Eddie.
point, yeah, the point I'm trying to make is there has to be some regular incentives to promote Canadian unity. And Gary, you're absolutely right. The government should find ways of promoting this, and one way is, you know what, charge our foreign visitors a small fee by the carload to go into our national parks. I agree with you 100%.
Well, I think that if we're going to be doing something like this, let's do it with Canadians first. We need it. We're united under pressure right now because of the trade war. Why can't we be united and have no real pressure at all? Just be united, get to know each other and be friendly, because there are a lot of friendly people out there. There really are, and we really need to experience that more. And as I say, to me, the money that we're losing by allowing everyone in at no charge could be, to me, better spent on getting Canadians to know their country, see their country, feel their country, talk to the people, their fellow countrymen and women and kids, and come away from it feeling that sense of community and that sense of unity. You know what? We're all in this together. Yeah, we have different political stripes, we have different gripes, but in the long run, like I say, we all get up in the morning and go through the same sort of scenarios of putting clothes on, going off to work or whatever. It's the same thing, just different locations. And we need to do more of that in this country more than ever, especially now with what's happening in Alberta and what could happen and reignite here in Quebec after the provincial election. We need something like that more than ever.
Yeah.
We really do. And to me, even look at it from an investment standpoint. There's a return on investment. It may not be a truly tangible return on investment, but there is a return on investment when you bring a country together. And with that, Eddie, our takeaway is what?
Well, our first takeaway, ladies and gentlemen, is Gary and I would never leave our wives at home and go on a cross-country jaunt. I just want to let everybody know that. I don't even go down the street without my wife. I want her beside me. Just want to let you guys know. Anyway, our takeaway. The real question isn't whether admission is free. It's whether foreign tourists deserve the first benefit from free access to our national treasures.